NFL Hall of Fame is simply incomplete until his face is on a bust in Canton. I don't understand why it's not. We're going to get into it. No buts about it. Hey everyone, welcome to No Buts About It. I am your host, Josh Butts. As you can tell, I am very passionate about this topic. If you have known me for any amount of time and have talked to me about the NFL Hall of Fame, usually I bring up how Willie Anderson is not in. And that's the guy we're going to be talking about today. I do not understand how he is not in, and I don't think a lot of people really know who he is or what he did as a player. So we're going to get into it. We're going to break down his career, and I'm going to talk about my argument as to why I think he should be in and should have been in a long time ago. So first off, let's look at Anderson's career length. Was he a significant contributor to his team, to that era of football? And the answer is very clearly yes. 13 NFL seasons, a very long, durable career. This is his 11th year of eligibility for the Hall of Fame. So I'm not arguing that he should even be like a first ballot Hall of Famer or a third ballot or apparently not even a 10th ballot Hall of Famer. It's been a decade since he retired. Let's give this man some credit finally. He started in 184 of 195 games, and he didn't miss a game until 2007, near the end of his career. That is absolutely insane, and that is the type of durability that NFL head coaches dream of having on their offensive line. Think about how many teams just this year were hindered by offensive line injuries. The Bengals had a guy like Willie Anderson who they could constantly trust to be on their line, and he was going to protect the quarterback, and he was going to open up lanes for those running backs. Now, in his era, Willie Anderson was recognized for his greatness. Late 90s, early 2000s. He had 3 back-to-back-to-back first-team All-Pros from 2004 to 2006, and he was the first right tackle in 30 years to accomplish that goal. And he was second-team All-Pro in 2003, so had a great run from 2003 to 2006, but those aren't even the most impressive years for him, in my opinion, and there's an insane stat that we're going to talk about a little bit later. Willie Anderson was also a 4-time NFL Pro Bowler. Obviously, he never made it to a Super Bowl because the Bengals sucked at that time, but Willie Anderson didn't. Willie Anderson was great. Also, if you're going to make the argument that you have to win a Super Bowl to get into the Hall of Fame, we're going to have to remove about half of the Hall of Fame. So just going to warn you, don't comment that below because I will come at you. Let's look at that insane stat that I was talking about before that I don't think anyone knows about or doesn't talk about, at least, because this stat is absolutely insane. If someone like Lane Johnson or Zach Martin did this, we'd be talking about it like all the time, and we should, because it's wild. And if they have done this and no one has mentioned it, it should be talked about more with them as well. So that is that in 13 years, Willie Anderson only allowed 16 sacks. That's insane. And you might be wondering, well, how did he do that? Was there something going on? Was he not facing good pass rushers? No, he just didn't allow a sack from 1999 until 2001. A 3-year stretch with no sacks allowed at his position. And who did he go against? He went against 9 of the 11 top NFL pass rushers. And of those 9 guys, he surrendered 1 sack to one of them, Bruce Smith, who set an NFL record with 200 career sacks. He played against these pass rushers in 15 games. And if you're going to surrender a sack to any of these guys, might as well be the guy who holds the NFL career record for sacks. So let's look at some of these names who he went up against, who these legendary pass rushers are. Obviously, we had Bruce Smith. He also went up against Hall of Famer Michael Strahan, Reggie White, Warren Sapp, and future Hall of Famers Terrell Suggs and Julius Peppers, which Julius Peppers just became eligible, and people are saying he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. I agree. I also think it's very impressive that he never got a sack on Willie Anderson, and they went up against each other. A few of those guys have even come out and said that it is shocking to them that Willie Anderson isn't in the Hall of Fame. that Willie Anderson should be in the Hall of Fame. Michael Strahan has endorsed Willie Anderson, saying, when I went up against Willie, I knew it was going to be a rough day. I knew it was going to be hard. The fact that he's not in the Hall of Fame is a disrespect. Warren Sapp just came out fairly recently and said the exact same thing. It's insane that these guys are having to speak out for Willie Anderson, because he said, I will just let the tape speak for itself. And then these guys were like, okay, the tape, people aren't watching the tape, so we're going to have to speak out on behalf of Willie Anderson. So that's why Michael Strahan and Warren Sapp have come out and said, yeah, this guy needs to be in the Hall of Fame. It's not just Bengals fans and other players that are endorsing Willie Anderson for the Hall of Fame. Legendary Steelers Hall of Fame coach Bill Cowher has also endorsed Willie Anderson for the Hall of Fame, saying Willie was one of the hardest guys in his entire career to plan a pass rush for. And we've talked about how good the players were at the time. We have so many legends in that era. And Coach Cowher, a legendary Super Bowl winning coach, has come out and said that Willie Anderson is one of the guys that he was afraid of when he had to plan a scheme for him. The right tackle is also most often the tackle that they run the ball off of. So let's look at some of the guys who were running behind Willie Anderson. Willie Anderson was great at opening up lanes for his running backs. He opened up the lane for Corey Dillon, who was able to break records set by Jim Brown, such as the rookie single game record. And even Hall of Famer, like the running back, arguably the best. These two are two of the best running backs, Jim Brown and Walter Payton. But Walter Payton's single game rushing record was broken by Corey Dillon running behind Willie Anderson. That is a crazy thing. He helped the people around him. He helped the quarterback. He did his job, and he's still not being talked about. Mike Giddings, who's the head of the longtime NFL scouting service pioneering Pro Scout Incorporated, even said his blue best years, the blue years are their best years, that's how they grade them, his position ranks, his longevity, he's a Hall of Famer. The answer is Willie Anderson is a Hall of Famer. His numbers match up to everybody else who is in. Baselli, referencing Tony Baselli, who was just put in the Hall of Fame a few years ago, first 5 years are a dominant blue. Joe Thomas was a consistent player, but he wasn't as blue as Willie, meaning he didn't have as many best years, as many great years as Willie did. Now, nobody is arguing that Joe Thomas and Tony Baselli shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. They deserve it 100%. Joe Thomas probably deserved to be a first-round ballot, but as Giddings points out, his numbers are consistent. Willie's numbers are consistent and right up there with Joe Thomas, with Tony Baselli. These guys that we have already said are some of the best offensive linemen in NFL history. How does Willie Anderson not have the same recognition? And the Jaguars never won a Super Bowl. The Browns never won a Super Bowl. And if you want to talk about the NFL championships, Joe Thomas wasn't on those teams, so he doesn't have a ring. But why does Willie not get the same recognition? He went up against a lot of the same guys. Some could argue he went up against better pass rushers than guys like Joe Thomas and Tony Baselli did. But that's a different debate for a different time. I just don't understand where we draw the line when we're going to say, hey, actually, Willie Anderson, yeah, he went 3 years without allowing a sack. Yeah, he only had 16 sacks in 13 seasons. But Joe Thomas and Tony Baselli are somehow better, even though their stats aren't showing that at all. I don't know. Maybe it's because he's Cincinnati. Stan the Jet fan had a theory that small market teams don't get brought in the Hall of Fame because they don't have as many fans, so they bring in less customers for the Hall. I don't know if I buy that, but that's the most logical reason I've seen that Willie Anderson isn't in the Hall of Fame. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Should Willie Anderson be in the Hall of Fame? If so, is there any arguments for it that I missed? Let me know, because I would love to have them. And if not, let me know why you think Willie Anderson shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. Would love to talk about it. Until next time, go do something nice for someone.